Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to discuss what is most assuredly going to be the imminent banning of Field of the Dead. Some of you may remember a video I did about 5 or 6 days ago talking about how the ban announcement had spontaneously been moved ahead a full month. All right, now this tactic actually worked. Let's just cover this for a moment. This is funny to me. Wizards of the Coast rescheduling a banned and restricted announcement to a month earlier than it was going to normally be, and then making the decision 2 days after just having made a banned and restricted announcement where they didn't change anything. That's an emergency banning. That's what's going on. There were literally people in the comment section going, "It's not an emergency banning." Yes, it is. Wizards of the Coast moved the date up because they need to ban things faster than anticipated. It has become an emergency. Now, the reason they just said they rescheduled it for logistics reasons is so that people like you would actually buy it and go, I guess it's just a normal thing and not an emergency. It's an emergency banning, people. Come on. And we were speculating. What would the emergency bannings be? There were a number of cards that I tossed out there, and at the end of the day, the strongest candidate that I picked was Field of the Dead. Now, the information has come in from the Mythic Championship that's going to be starting at the end of the week, right? So on Friday, it's the 18th, right? Today's Tuesday. Yeah, okay. So on Friday, the 18th, the Mythic Championships start. What are the Mythic Championships, you may ask? Well, this is where the MPL, the 32 players from the Magic Pro League, play off against, I think it's something like 36 other people as well. 36 challengers who are ready to get some. Either way, all you need to know is this event has some of the best Magic players playing in it. So first of all, we're starting out with a high level of talent when it comes to the players. Secondly, we're coming with an insane prize pool, $750,000 in prizes. So, what do you want to do in a scenario like that? Clearly, you want to win. How do you win? You bring your A game. How does all this tie into me knowing that Field of the Dead has to get the boot? Well, it's really simple. See, for the Mythic Championship, all the competitors have to register their decks. Now, all of these decks got registered surprisingly just around the time that Wizards of the Coast said, hey, we got to move this ban announcement up way faster, way faster. In fact, the bannings that are about to happen are going to happen directly after the Mythic Championships. I wonder what could be going on? Could it be possible that they were alarmed by something they saw when they took a look at all the decks that were posted? Could there be a particular deck or card that is actually dominating the submissions? No, of course not. Except, yes, that's exactly what's going on here. So, guess, take a go at it. Take a Golos at guessing what deck is dominating the submissions. If you said Bant Golos, you're right. Bant Golos all by itself makes up 33.8% of the field. So we're looking at 1/3 of the field. And you say to yourself, oh, it's just 1/3 of the field. It's not that much. It's only twice as much as any other deck. That's no big deal. Well, who cares? It's just one deck. Yeah, but the thing is, we haven't even added in the other variations of the Golos decks. It's Golos Fires and 4-color Golos. So we've got multiple variations of Golos, all running the problem child, Field of the Dead. And that brings the percentage up to 42.7%. Now, these numbers are pulled from an article by Frank Karsten. In all honesty, I'll read the little blurb out for you in his own words. What stands out is the dominance of Field of the Dead. At 33.8%, Bant Golos is the most popular archetype by far. And if we add Bant Golos, Golos Fires, and a single 4-color Golos deck, then a staggering 42.7% of players are planning to create a stack of zombie tokens. Even though Scapeshift rotated out, Field of the Dead is still busted. I wonder what this means. I wonder what the prevalence of a bunch of decks running Field of the Dead combined with Wizards getting information about a bunch of people running Field of the Dead, combined with the moving up of a banning announcement means. I wonder if it means there's going to be an emergency banning of Field of the Dead. The answer is yes. Yes, this is an emergency banning. Yes, it's Field of the Dead that's going to get banned. You can't dispute this. People who haven't been around that long may not understand the necessity of these type of bans. Now, admittedly, it is not a feel-good situation when cards need to get banned. Nobody enjoys that. Nobody goes, yay! I mean, admittedly, there's a little bit of like partying going on from the people who aren't playing the particular deck, right? But in this scenario, you ban Field of the Dead, 42.7% of the people playing are going to be like, oh man, automatically just because cards are getting banned. Bans create problems across the board. But this sort of thing, I mean, keep in mind, guys, again, this is the Mythic Championship we're talking about. These are high-level players competing for a lot of money. And what they decide to go to? Most people decided to go with Golos. They decided to go with the Golos Field of the Dead deck because it's incredibly resilient. It's a very strong deck, and it's interesting to note that the Golos deck runs like 29 lands. I can't remember a single time in the history of Standard where we've had a deck that was so dominant that ran so many lands. That's 29 out of 60 cards. That's almost a full half of the deck that is lands. That's not something you normally see, right? Normally you'll see 24, maybe 25 lands on the heavy land side, and that's the top. So 29, it's an interesting side note that the deck is so potent that it can get by with half the decks being land. I mean, obviously the strategy requires a ton of different lands with different names because each one you put out is going to trigger and get you all of those zombie tokens. So we have all the best players playing like well, not technically the majority, but if you take a look, no other deck, it's not like 42.7% of the field is Golos and the other remaining like 56% is some other deck. It's made up of a smattering of other decks. They're like, I think Oko is the second highest. I think the Oko food deck is the second highest rated one, but it's not even close. Oko's covering like 15% of the field compared to like 42.7%. There's a massive, staggering difference. And Field of the Dead is a card with very few reasonable answers in Standard. In all honesty, there are very few ways to handle the Field of the Dead land. It's something that Wizards created. They thought, oh, it'd be fun with Scape Shift. They didn't realize the potential and power of it. And to be fair, it is actually really difficult for Wizards of the Coast to know everything that's going to be problematic. Something like putting out the Saheeli Felidar combo where the two cards are really obvious and merge really well together, that's dumb. That's dumb. But them not being able to see that somebody was going to slap together Golos, Field of the Dead, like 27 different kinds of lands or whatever, and all this stuff to make this monster unstoppable deck, I can give them a little more forgiveness for that. That doesn't feel as obvious. Some of these decks take a while to work their way to the top. But what happens, what the fallout from this is, once a Mythic event like this happens, there's a number of people who are going to go online and they're going to see what the most powerful deck is, and they're going to emulate that deck. They're going to copy the deck and play it. And the old schoolers call it netdecking, but to me, the whole concept of netdecking is an old, antiquated concept where people want to try and pretend, I only create original decks. And it's like, really? What was your concept? I put food cards together. Oh, okay. And did you go online to make sure that absolutely nobody has built that deck before you? Because by your completely unreasonable standards, somehow you're not allowed to use this deck now because one other person decided to combine food together with the paint by numbers approach Wizards has already given you. So that whole sort of, I create my own decks, netdecking mentality, it's old and it makes people look silly. Because when you're going to it, like, let's take this tournament, for example. You're playing for $750,000 worth of prizes. And I liken it to like an old West, like, shootout kind of thing, right? Where you show up and you can, like, quick draw, kind of thing. So what kind of a weapon are you going to bring with you? Are you going to, oh, hey, let's go up and pick a trusty weapon that's been designed. It never backfires. It's really reliable. No, man, I taped together 4 straws and it shoots peas, and I taped it to an orange, and if I squeeze the orange just right as I blow really hard, 4 peas directly in your eyes. 1 time out of 50 works every time. But I'm better than you because I created this deck, even though somebody probably already beat me to it online anyhow. So the whole net decking thing, I don't really buy it anymore. If you've ever tried to jump into a new card game that's been established for a while, try it. A lot of these people who are like, I build my own original decks, are people who have been around for a while and have the advantage of layered knowledge. It's a fairly absurd way to look at things. To go online, to pick a deck that works, and to play it is totally reasonable, and it is the way the world works now. So people are going to look at the Mythic Championships and go, wow, this Golos deck is beefy. Seriously, 42.7% of the best Magic players in the world said, this is your best ticket to win. So how is this not going to end up being copied by a large amount of people? The answer is clearly it's going to be copied by a ton of people. These Golos decks would sprawl all over Arena and regular like F&M events as well. But Arena specifically was going to turn into Golos Land of the Dead, like crazy town. There's a certain level of it already on Arena, but after these sort of results get posted and it's proven even more to the everyday folk, like look what's taking down championship prizes, more people are going to play it. Wizards knows this, which is why the ban date has been moved up to right after the Mythic Championship. It would not be fair in the slightest to all of the players in the Mythic Championship if they brought the ban hammer down before the championship started. Forcing these people to test for a new meta, change their deck up all within a week is completely unreasonable. And that's the only reason we didn't see them go, we're moving the ban date up even faster to like right now, today, guess what, surprise! It's amazing to me that they try and fool people with the whole, we're rescheduling it. It's like, it's an emergency ban. Just say what it is. Nobody likes bannings aside from the cheering of people seeing a hated deck go away. Overall, bannings are not good for the health of Standard in terms of it creates really bad feels. When you ban something, it tends to be something a lot of people are using. And when people lose the ability to use cards, they get frustrated. Especially in paper Magic, where they have physically purchased these cards, right? Either through buying booster packs to acquire the cards or through buying singles. So people have paid directly for these cards, and in some cases, they will have bought these like these singles with wild cards on Arena. I was talking with someone about this on Friday night, and I was saying, hey, guess what, man? Field of the Dead, that's getting banned. And he was expressing his frustration because he had waited until after the ban and restricted announcement was made earlier this month. Once they were given the all clear, basically Wizards does a ban and restricted announcement every 2 months. So the idea behind this is supposed to be you can reliably expect no changes in what's available in Standard for the next 2 months. So a day or two after the ban and restricted announcement, he went out and purchased all the cards to build the Golos Fields of the Dead deck. Now I feel for him. As much as I fully believe that Fields of the Dead needs to be banned, I feel for anybody who went, oh, I can play this for the next 2 months. Sweet, all this stuff's going to be available. And they went out and picked up the cards. And now all of a sudden it's like, nah, son, guess what? We're going to ban it way more than a month ahead of schedule. Surprise! Hope you don't mind, but a lot of people do. So what happens when we have these bannings is we lose players. There are some people who will leave Magic over bannings and never come back. And you can't blame them. Magic is not a cheap game, right? You put a lot of money into this, right? Well, if you're playing physical. If you're playing Arena, either you put money or time into it. Either or, you're putting something of value in and you're losing that. Now, if the bans happen, will Arena give out wild cards? That's a question that I have because they did it with the Nexus of Fate card, right? But the Nexus of Fate card wasn't something you could crack in packs. It was only something you could redeem wild cards for or get from buying like the buy a box promos when it came to Arena. So they did give out wild cards for that, but when they went ahead and banned Rampaging Ferocidon before, they didn't give any wild cards. So I don't know if Wizards is going to hand out wildcards for the cards that get banned. So if you have 4 Fields of the Dead, they give you 4 wildcards. This is something I really think they need to do, because we do lose players every time there's a ban. But what people don't realize in some cases is that if they don't do the bans, more damage is done to the game. More people end up walking away from Standard. They may not do an abruptly, I'm quitting because of the ban. They may do the whole, wow, this Magic is not fun anymore, I'm not enjoying it, and wander off from the game. And in that case, it's not an abrupt, visceral, like, I'm quitting, I'm not coming back reaction, but it does create that lingering feeling of, I'm not enjoying Magic anymore. And that also leads to people exiting the game. In fact, it leads to more people exiting the game because it's not tied to this trigger gut emotional reaction. They just go, Magic isn't fun for me anymore. I guess I'll go play Minecraft. I guess I'll go play Hearthstone. I guess I'll go play Monopoly. Well, no, come on, who's going to play Monopoly? But they'll just go and they'll find other games. And when they think about Magic, it won't be like an anger moment of they banned my favorite card. They'll just be like, the game's not fun to me anymore. The game became unfun. And so standard bannings are necessary because it protects the health of the game more than allowing things to run rampant. There are people out there who advocate, no, never do any bans, let everything be legal. But Magic would become so degenerate that nobody would really play it. You would lose so many players as a result of that. And at the end of the day, Wizards can't afford Standard to become an untenable situation. Modern or other formats, they can allow to get a little more ugly and play it a little more like loose go, okay, we can wait to ban Hogak, who cares, whatever. Modern's got a wider wider pool of cards, I should say. People can find more answers, but with Standard is Wizards' bread and butter. You know this because look at how hard they fought to try and make Historic unpalatable to people by going 2-for-1 wild cards. You can only buy 45 boosters at a time. They don't want you playing anything but Standard. What do you think Brawl is? Brawl is an attempt to get people to play Standard Commander. That's it. We're trying to get you to play Standard Commander so it keeps rotating, you keep buying stuff. Standard is where they're all selling you all the new booster packs, right? So they need to maintain the health of the Standard environment. For all of this adds up to Field of the Dead getting the boot for sure. Field of the Dead is donezo. I speculated pretty strongly in my previous video that it was going. I'm stating it now unequivocally, man. I cannot see a world where they do not ban Field of the Dead. It's 42.7% of the field. It's literally warping things around it. There is no disputing that, right? It's having too much of an impact to not catch the ban hammer. Now, for those of you Fields of the Dead enthusiasts who may be mourning this, bear in mind that under the way Wizards of the Coast does things now, with the frequency of banning and restricted announcements, they also have the ability to unban things. Rampaging Ferocidon got unbanned. Admittedly, it got unbanned when there was barely any time left for it in Standard, but we are now in a world where when something gets banned from Standard, it's not necessarily going to stay banned in Standard for its entire lifetime. Although, on the other hand as well, Field of the Dead is from Core 2020, and the core sets only have a lifespan of a year, which is shorter than most sets get in Standard. So Field of the Dead may be going for good, and it may just be something that's waiting to resurface in Modern one day going, surprise suckers, I'm back, remember me? I'm Field of the Annoying. Anyhow, let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Is there any chance that you think Field of the Dead could remain unbanned? I don't see it happening. If you're curious to see the other cards that I am thinking may end up getting a ban for this and other formats, I'll link the emergency standard ban video here at the end. And I'll also put up a link to a playlist of lore videos. So if you just want to chill back, hear some stories about Magic, enjoy some dope lore, that's what this playlist is for. Got some other lore videos locked and loaded, already uploaded, but because of what's going on, it's like, hey, I wanted to talk about this instead. A big shout out to my patrons and channel members, welcoming 2 new members, Anto and Chase Hatchet. Thank you very much for joining up on my Patreon and my channel membership, respectively. Appreciated quite a bit, and a special shout out to Randy for being a patron and a channel member. Thanks for all that, my friends. I shall see you all here tomorrow for some more goodness.